special thing going on here with Clive from Paloma Gardens. He's very graciously offered to show us around his collection of motorcycles that he has here out in Wanganui, and we're very, very privileged that he's agreed to do this. So I'll pass it over to Clive. I'll ask him some questions as they pop into my mind. Forgive me if they're not very good questions, but I'm just trying to help the process. So over to you, Clive.
Hi Sean, yeah, cool. Like Sean said, we're at Paloma Gardens and large gardens and our motorbike gallery, museum, whatever. I have a weakness for Italian bikes, and this is one of my favourites, the Benelli Sei. Sei is 6 in Italian, so this is a 6-cylinder. They came out in the 72, well, the first ones hit the streets, I suppose, in 74, but we'd been forewarned they were coming for a year or 18 months before that. The owner of Benelli, the Argentinian Di Tommaso, had bought Benelli 71 or early 70s. Later on he bought Moto as well. Anyway, the family, the Benelli family, who had it for a hell of a long time, started it, of course, sold it to him, and he brought out a whole new range, like the Seis, the 750, which later morphed into a 900cc, this one. This is an 89, the last year they made the Sei. But yeah, he brought out 4-cylinder, 500cc Quattro, I think it was called, 250, 4 cylinders, amazing bikes. And yeah, so this is the last year. The first ones, the 750s, were a 6x6, and after 5 years or less, it was no better than a normal 750. So they beefed it up to 900, and yeah, it improved the horsepower. I think these are something like 70 horse. I've forgotten, to be honest, but nothing startling. The motor on this was basically a copy of the Honda 500, cylinder on each side to make it a 750, but without a lot of extra performance. So then they beefed it up to 900. So this bike is an 89, the last year they produced them. Originally it would have had a black chrome all the way through to the muffler. I think it's a very stylish bike. All the bikes here have their own personalised names. This is Nelly, not very original, Benelli, Nelly. But it's always a nice name. And I like having all the personalised things. So Keith Turner imported and sold this to a guy in the Bay of Plenty. And then I think perhaps he died, and eventually it got sold to someone else who replaced the mufflers and re-registered it. And I bought it on Trade Me 6 or 7 years ago. And always been a good runner, always goes well. It's got a dry clutch, so it's got that nice Italian rattle.
I'm just looking at the carburetor setup there, Clive. Is it two carbs that run?
3 carbs, 3 into 6. So, yeah, which is quite nice. Like the CBX Honda with 6 carbs is great while everything's going well. But 3 carbs, dry clutch, a hidden petrol tank, synthetic, plastic, whatever, underneath. Used to have a duplex chain sprocket system, which I think Alistair, the Tauranga guy, also took off and replaced with a normal chain and sprockets. Love riding it, it's comfortable, smooth of course, 6 cylinders, very smooth. So she's redlining at 9th hour. Yeah, it sounds beautiful. The clutch, while I said it's dry, it's not as noisy, you know, when you're idling, as some of the Italian bikes, where you sometimes think there's something wrong until you get used to it. But this sounds beautiful. But yeah, I want to tidy up the exhaust system one day.
How long have you had this one, Clive?
It must be 6 or 7 years. Haven't done a lot of miles. I ride it every 6 months. She's a good starter, unless it hasn't been running for a year or so, and then you've got to get the petrol through. These have all got fuel stabilized petrol in them, so the carbs don't clog up. But I rode her to town a fortnight ago, and I bet you she'll just roar into life.
No worries, so you keep everything on a tender and...
Yep. She's got a big battery in it. I've had to replace it once. I use sealed batteries if possible, because the tenders, I think, tend to get the battery levels to drop, and sometimes they're virtually impossible to just zoom in and check the battery levels. My wife Nikki won't ride on the back of this anymore. It's too much like she's going to fall off. It just...
Not much back support there.
No, and before we got it, someone had put some silicone on the seat, which might look nice, but it didn't do anything for Nikki.
No, make it quite slippery, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And yeah, I like the handlebar mirrors. I know that originally they must have had something else, but they're cool.
Is the little fairing on the front of it original?
Yes, that's original. Yeah. Electrics, everything seemed to work well. The heavy old discs are dated a little bit, but to me this is just beautiful. So I actually turned the fuel on half an hour ago. Choke is down here, and she always needs choke. I quite like ones down there. Key, interesting key. It's a swivel one like BMW's, and